nothing like this. This is devastating.
Mother Nature is delivering an historic punch and leaving many wondering what their future holds.
Though we're human and we have emotions and I want to cry, but my house is underwater and I don't know what's left.
The damage and loss are far from over. Right now, rivers are cresting at record levels, and officials are issuing some of their most urgent warnings yet.
I want to emphasize that if you have instructions to evacuate from your local authorities, please, please, please evacuate. You know, your life is extremely important to us.
But amidst the historic flooding, we're also hearing countless stories of strangers helping one another.
It's crazy to see all the help. Like everybody's just coming together, trying their best to do whatever they can for others.
Good morning, I'm Jake Wittenberg alongside Mimi Jung. Our special coverage continues right now on King 5 and King 5 Plus.
Rivers in western Washington are reaching record highs with evacuations happening right now in Skagit County. Overnight, 4 rivers broke records as they swelled to the highest levels we've ever seen. The Snoqualmie, Cedar and Nooksack all crested at record highs overnight. Just a few hours ago, the Skagit River in Mount Vernon reached 37.5 feet, just surpassing the previous record set back in 1990.
We have team coverage for you this morning. Farah Jadrin live along the Snoqualmie River in Everett. But first, let's get out to Drew Andre in Burlington, where in the last few hours, there's been a massive evacuation effort to try to get folks out of rising flood water from the Skagit. Drew, what's the latest?
Jake, this came as a big surprise to a lot of people. Of course, they had been seeing that the river was receding, but yet here we are, and you're seeing more flooding. Most of this just happening overnight and then extending some more. That's why there's now these mandatory evacuations in place. So right behind these homes that you see that are flooded, I mean, we're talking up to the level about halfway up the garage on several of these homes. The slough is right behind them, and that is where this flooding is stemming from. Now, what we know, according to the people we've been talking to with the Dike Commission, is that when the river is still at 34 feet or above, that's when you can still see water crest over the top of Highway 20, which has been happening now for more than a day. That's continuing, and then it is seeping through the dikes and then going into neighborhoods. So that's why we are still seeing these kind of levels. This is some video earlier when we first arrived to Burlington, and you can see one of the big emergency vehicles going right through the deep levels of the floodwater here. We're currently on Rio Vista Avenue. And we've been speaking with some neighbors in this area. One man who's lived here for decades said he's never seen the levels this high, and he was speaking to some of his neighbors who have been impacted.
A lot of them have water in their basements. The young man I was just talking to here, he lives in the big house here, and he's got a shop in the back, and there's water in the basement.
And just about all of these homes that are backed up to the slough on this side, their entire backyard is underwater. And of course, as you see with this home right here, much of the home is flooded. So of course, people that live there have evacuated, but right now there is evacuation orders in place. The National Guard has actually been going around door to door to tell people that it is time to move out of the area. We do know that there is an elementary school just right near here that is one of the zones for a shelter that you could go to, and the Red Cross has a number of other shelters in the area as well. We'll send it back to you for now.
So Drew, just to clarify where you are exactly, and is the flooding that's happening behind you, is that new or is that old flooding? And where does it stop? I noticed that when you panned over to the intersection that it looked like the water stopped where you are. There's a lot of people in Burlington wondering, you know, is their home spared? What's going on with their neighborhood?
Yes, great question. So right now what we're seeing is just the homes that are right backed up to the slough. Here, Jay, walking me over this way. As you can see, I'm standing in a little bit of the water, but as you come back to the street, this street is still open. There are homes that cars that are driving through this street right here, Rio Vista. So it is not everywhere, of course, that is impacted, but authorities are saying to evacuate just in case, because we do not know how much more these levels could rise. But again, all this is stemming from around the slough right here.
Yeah, and the county did issue a citywide evacuation order, but I know there's a lot of people who are thinking, I'm not really affected, I'm going to stay put.
Yeah, and that reverse 911 call also effective. They can sort of call everybody en masse with a robo message to let them know to get out too. So a dire situation still in Burlington even after this record crest. Drew, thank you, sir.
Let's get to Everett now, where King 5's Farah Jadrin is. She's been tracking the flooding in Snoqualmie County, and she has been watching the Snoqualmie River there. Farah, what are you seeing right now?
Yeah, well, I'm standing in the Snoqualmie River, and to give you some perspective, in the last 20 to 30 minutes or so, I've had to move forward because I am now more than shin high. I was able to stand beyond this tree trunk right here. And also, if you see this pylon back here, the folks here at Wrecking Ball Demolition told me that normally you can see the entire pylon, and the grass goes all the way here to the fence, but you can see the Snoqualmie River just moving along very briskly. And this is without any fresh rainfall because it has finally stopped. But this just shows you how powerful that atmospheric river was to dump all that rain and to have it rush and gush for so many days. And now it's still moving along pretty briskly, if you ask me. Take a look at this video now. This is from this morning along the EB Slough where that log jam is. Several trees of all different sizes are just stuck there. So you can see that large machinery working with those big claws to pick them up and clear out that area. The EB Slough, of course, a main channel of the Snoqualmie River, sending all of those logs over there. We spoke to the operations manager here at the Wrecking Ball Company, and they told us what kinds of conditions they deal with out here along the river.
We get a lot of flooding that comes through during the winter months because it'll, go right here, and then we're on the tidal flow. So when the tide comes in, the tide came in at like 10 o'clock yesterday and flooded everything. Today it'll probably be the same. It'll flood out the parking lot, it'll flood out our back office area right back in there and everything. It'll flood out pretty good.
Yeah, so Wrecking Ball Demolition's been out here almost 40 years, and being along the Snoqualmie River and just knowing the Everett area, knowing Snoqualmie County, they know what they're up against with the river here. They moved all of their machinery and equipment out of the way that could get destroyed by any flood waters. And like I said, this has moved up higher and higher. And you see this debris here, that's like a small fraction or a snapshot of what the EB Slough log jam is dealing with right now. But that shows you just how much debris can gather up. It can clog an area, and with the tidal flow of the Snoqualmie River, the company here says that they're used to seeing the river push here when there is a serious storm like an atmospheric river, and it flooded the entire parking lot yesterday, which is something they said it's never done before. Maybe it comes beyond the pylon, but never filling the entire lot, and they think that soon that's going to happen again. And like I said, this water has risen in just the last 20 to 30 minutes. So no matter where you are, if you are close to the Snoqualmie River or one of the channels, make sure you keep a close eye on any encroaching water. We've seen several different road closure signs, but people ignoring them and going right around them. It's up for a reason, whether that was fire, police, or a Department of Emergency Management putting up. It's to protect you and to keep any rescue officials from going there for an unnecessary rescue to somewhere else they might need to go as well. We just want to give you one more look at the river before we send it back to the studios. You can see it moving along very briskly. That pylon, like I said, normally you can see the entire thing, but it's pushed beyond that fence line. This Wrecking Ball Demolition Wrecking Ball has seen floodwaters move up by their offices, so they're keeping an eye on things and just making sure they're watching the conditions, but they are changing, and that's why we encourage you to stay with King 5 and King 5 Plus as things go on. So maybe the rain has stopped, but the flooding or the standing waters have not seemed to dissipate just yet. Live in Everett, Farah Jadrin, King 5 News.
Farah, thank you. And as you see the power of that river, I mean, it takes your breath away to see those logs all stacked on top of each other at the trestle there, like Lincoln logs. Just amazing. Rich, let's get it over to you now. We want to talk about the day ahead and this weather pattern where the atmospheric river and the rain's not really the biggest story right now.
No, it's the flooding that's a big thing. And I think far as live shot also underscores, if you live near the mouth of a river, near the Sound or near the Salish Sea, that we're approaching high tide coming up, and for most places around 11 to 12 o'clock today, that tide is coming in, and you've got the rivers really flowing out. So locally you may see some increased levels there right at the mouths of some of those rivers going into the larger bodies of water that are affected by tide. So keep that in mind. Shorter term, nothing out of the sky today that's going to cause problems. We're looking at just a few scattered showers. Quantities are going to be very light, will not add to the flooding problem. However, we continue to see that flash flood watch in effect until 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. The Skagit River is still running very high, and there's concern as that goes down that possibly could still weaken the dikes. And so they're going to monitor that very closely here until 4 a.m. tomorrow, when it should be down low enough that they won't have to. But that's basically, as we've been saying, northwestern Snoqualmie County on up into western Skagit County. Those lowlands are the places that are at threat because of that. And so keep that in mind as you head out today, that you stay plugged into your emergency source of emergency information. Overall for today, just a couple showers around. A dry day tomorrow, getting to the mid-50s. Showers and sun breaks on Sunday. The remnants of that atmospheric river not really producing a whole lot. That's going to move on through. But then a new atmospheric river is going to brush by us Monday, and initially snow levels are going to be around 6,000 to 7,000 feet and give us another round of heavy rain in the lowlands and up in the mountains. But snow levels drop to about 4,500 feet by later in the day. It'll switch over to mountain snow as we head towards later in the week. But we are going to see another impulse of some flood rivers rising as we head towards later Monday into Tuesday. It looks like as we head towards later in the week, we'll see things start to dry out a little bit, and those temperatures returning to the mid to upper 40s. Next time around, we'll take a closer look at those snow levels and what it could mean for snow in the mountains in just a couple of minutes.
And as you prepare to head out this morning, it is a first alert traffic morning as well, because a lot of your roads are going to look like this. This is a live look at one of those WashDOT cameras on Highway 9 near Marsh Road, where you can see the road is basically covered with a little pond here. So again, the southbound lanes are blocked through this area. If you are headed out between Marsh Road and State Route 96, you see a lot of purple in that area in the Snohomish River Valley. Old Snohomish Monroe Road, a portion of that is blocked at the moment as well. And one of the biggest closures this morning is Highway 2. It is closed between Stevens Pass and Leavenworth because of some slides. One thing to keep in mind, though, if you are going to try to head out that way, Blewett Pass is back open, so that is one way to work around that. And if you have plans to travel between Monroe and Fall City, several closures are in place right now along State Route 203. That's why you see so much purple there. One of the biggest ones is between Tote Hill Road and State Route 202. So yeah, it is a busy morning out. We have a closure in Pierce County as well if you're traveling on State Route 162 between South Prairie and Ording. I'll tell you about some of those other closures coming up in just a few moments, but you can see from the amount of flashing exclamation points here on this map, a lot of closures, so there will be some trouble spots this morning.
Yeah, so many closures that the teachers and staff at some of the schools have had trouble getting out of their own homes to get to schools in order to have class, so they had to shut down some of the schools
Not
because
enough subs
of it.
to go around.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, this atmospheric river has brought such a significant amount of rainfall this week.
Yeah, actually, was tracking some of the river levels and the rainfall. Oh my goodness.
I know. You would think some of us really needed the rain. We just didn't need it all at once. Some of us had our month's worth of rain already, if not more than that. And I'll break it down for you coming up. But we had 4 of those rivers reaching the record levels, which you've heard us mention all morning long. The good news is the Skagit at Mount Vernon is dropping. It's just dropping slowly, unfortunately. The Nooksack at Cedarville, well below where it was yesterday when it crashed at that record level. The Snohomish at Snohomish and the Cedar at Renton, they start to drop, but then they just plateau out. Looking ahead, so the Snohomish at Snohomish, again, this is where we are right now, plateauing, but then it's going to drop over the weekend, more than likely still in that action level stage, but it could come back up into next week, depending on those snow levels with that heavy rain that Rich was telling you about. Let's take you to the Skagit near Mount Vernon. And so we're finally below that record level, and then eventually it's going to come down over the weekend, but it could spike into next week as well, where we could get some of the heaviest rain over the North Cascades into early next week. The Snoqualmie near Carnation may spike into next week as well, but still not nearly as high. That's going to be the case for our rivers regardless. But then the Green near Auburn, in fact, it was dropping, but it's expected to go back up. So kind of the opposite there, and then just kind of leveling out at that moderate flood stage. Then we get to the Cowlitz at Randall. Also, it came above that major flood stage, but it is now dropping, likely going to continue to drop into early next week when we get some of that rain. And so again, that's something we'll watch out for. And Rich will tell you all about it. I wanted to briefly show you the flood stages and what they mean. So think of it as you're in a bathroom, your tubs. Think about that. Action is when the water starts to come up to the top of the tub, but still not spilling over. Minor flood, it starts to spill over the top of the tub and maybe getting your towel wet on the floor. But then you get into moderate flood stage, your entire bathroom floor is now wet from all of the overflow from the tub. But then major flood stage, that's when all the water gets into your living room and the hallway, and that's when we get that extensive flooding. So just to give you something so you know going forward, here's some of the rain totals on average around western Washington. The foothills 6 to 13, the Olympic Peninsula 5 to 17. This is just 5 days worth of rain, and so a lot of us got months worth of rain, if not more than that. I also wanted to show you this. This is our month to date for December versus average. Some of us 400% above where we should be through December 12th versus the 30-year average. For Puget Sound, about 100 to 125%, which is good, but we just didn't need this all at once. And even with all that rain, we're still, our yearly deficit is still well below where we should be. So again, we're headed in the right direction for our drought, but again, we just don't need it all at once.
All right, what a rainfall total there for so many cities. Thank you, Ashley. We want to show you what it looked like in Mount Vernon earlier this morning along the Skagit River as it flooded its banks. This was a few hours after the river reached its record crest level. You can see driveways and homes going to be fighting with a major cleanup in the days ahead.
And here's another view that we got a little bit earlier this morning, I should say, showing the flood wall and the river on the other side of it, which is flowing high right now. With all of the mandatory evacuation orders, the Red Cross has been doing a lot of work to provide people a place to go because they've been forced out of their homes.
A lot of people, a lot of families needed a place to be. Earlier this morning, King 5's Drew Andre spoke with a representative from the Red Cross. Here's a moment from that conversation.
Kristen, you've been out here over the course of the last couple of days. What is the kind of need that you've seen at the shelters?
We have a lot of need, but I do want to say we are still in emergency mode for us because there are thousands of people still evacuated and only about a couple hundred in our shelters now. So that means a lot of people who need to be in shelters. And so we are asking that they come to a shelter and just to heed those warnings of evacuation orders, as well as not to drive through that heavy water.
Right. Who are the kind of people that you're seeing show up so far to the shelters?
We are seeing so many different people. I have seen a lot of families. I just spoke to the shelter at 6 a.m. I walked through and we had a couple large families. I'm talking babies who need formula to also we've had busloads of seniors being evacuated from senior complexes. And so that just has a very vast difference of medical needs, dietary needs.
I think it's easy to forget here where communication can become a bit of a barrier as well. What have you seen regarding that?
Right. I have had so many people yesterday while I was at the shelter come up to me and say, I don't have a phone and my family members do not know where I am. And so I let them use my phone and the family members came right away. It took an hour maybe, and they were very thankful. But at some point, you know, some people just, their families don't know where they are. And so we're able to reunify them.
Right. What do you expect to see over the course of today and throughout the weekend?
We're really relying on our emergency crews and our partners. They are telling us what the need is, and then we are meeting that need. And so if we need to scale up, we have many different shelter options available that we can scale up. And then at this point, we still have beds open here in Mount Vernon and at our other locations. Our midnight report that we just got back, our latest information, and that is just people sleeping over. We had 245 people in our shelters of the 9 shelters.
Okay.
In Renton, the Cedar River also reached a record level, its highest in 35 years. Last night it peaked at 18.2 feet. That's over a foot higher than the previous record set in 1990. At this point, the full extent of the damage is unclear, but you can see a lot of homes taking on a large amount of water. Jorgen Graff in Renton also captured this video overnight. He tells us the water is usually flowing about 15 feet beneath that bridge, but you can see it's hitting that bridge right now. The water is starting to recede, and that is the case that we're seeing in many places, but for so many rivers, we're still at major flood stage. The good news is that we've reached those record levels, but in many of those cases I've just checked, we're steady. Yeah. We're steady and slowly starting to recede. At least we're heading in the right direction. Also, some more good news. Some major highways that were closed because of landslides and debris fields have now reopened. Eastbound I-90 is also moving again after a landslide shut it down for nearly 24 hours.
Highway 18 also maybe back open between Issaquah-Hobart Road and I-90. A slide yesterday caused some major delays in that area. And then there's Highway 2 back open between Index and Skykomish. US 2 to the west of Skykomish open for drivers again, but it's still closed over Stevens Pass beyond Skykomish all the way to Leavenworth because of debris on the roadway. This is an updated photo, what we're showing you here now. The detour, by the way, you'd have to take 90 to Blewett Pass just to get to Leavenworth right now. The closure of Highway 2 created a dire situation this week in the town of Skykomish, which found itself completely cut off.
Todd Bruner lives in Skykomish. He's a resident volunteer pitching in to help his town. He joined us on the show yesterday and is back with us for an update. Thank goodness you have some good news to tell us about.
We have good news.
Yeah,
yes.
How are you doing?
We're doing well. The road's open to the west, as you said. The railroad just passed the first train through town. We have power still out, but the river has receded about 5 feet.
That's amazing. Do you have power back, Todd?
No, we're still on generator.
Okay.
The utility crews are working on the lines to the west, but they're fairly damaged, so it's going to take some time.
You also own the local coffee shop there. It sounds like it's been quite the scene and place for people to be.
We
Describe
had a lot of
that.
stranded travelers,
Yeah.
which has happened in the past. We actually had families and just individual travelers that we housed and took care of, and coffee and goodies until about 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon. We were able to get them out in a convoy. The sheriff led them out. We also had 4 people from Costa Rica that arrived in town a couple of days ago to work at Stevens Pass for the season, and they got a little culture shock when they arrived in the middle of the flood.
I would say so. How are you doing through all of this too? You kind of go 24/7 to help everyone in your town.
It's been a quiet morning. I was at the coffee shop this morning about 5:30, and it's been really quiet, which I think everyone's pretty exhausted after 48 hours of slogging through a lot of water.
And give us an idea, Todd. I mean, you've lived in that area for such a long time. You guys are used to some of this flooding that happens. It's what happens when you live near a river.
Yep.
But what you've seen in the last week is not anything like you've seen before.
No, this is, and I've lived up here about 12 years now. I'm a native Washingtonian. My mother's family's from Roslyn. This is more water than I've ever seen. So this is tough stuff.
Can you learn anything from this, Todd? I mean, you have to be prepared for disasters, but can you learn anything from this event that you may change for future events like this?
Yeah, we need to do a little more work on our levee. We need to raise some parts of it that'll help us. We have some modifications we need to do, some of our drainage systems. Our pumps just could not keep up with the flow. There are a couple of things we can do. Probably we'll spend more attention on maintenance of generators and just, prepare better, but we did pretty well this time.
Well done. Well done. I'm sure you helped change a lot of lives and help make people feel at home in this difficult time, my friend.
Yeah.
Todd Bruner, thanks so much, my friend, for doing this. We wish you the best of luck. Check back in, okay?
All righty. Thank you.
Right.
I'm so glad that he has some good news to report
Yeah.
from Skykomish there. Right now, you're looking live above Burlington. We just got our drone up to give you an aerial view of the flooding that is underway, and there's an evacuation, a citywide evacuation in Burlington right now because of the Skagit River. So you're looking at some of the flooded homes and businesses. People who live in this area are being told to get out some areas are dry. I know that I've been reading some comments of people who live in Burlington on Facebook, and they say, you know, yes, I just drove down my street. This looks dry. And other people are asking, what about this intersection? What about this part of town? Not the entire city is affected. However, we just don't know exactly what's going to come next. So this is kind of gives you an idea. You can barely see the parking lots and the roads from this shot right here.
Yeah, you got to think there are basements flooded. All of this, you know, right before Christmas too. You hope there isn't some damage that's going to affect the holidays. But yeah, major cleanup, and we will be following it for sure. But looking live to Burlington this morning, where the story is not over by any means. The Skagit cresting at record levels, almost 38 feet this morning. What was it, about 4 a.m. or so, I think, right? It's setting an all-time record, but starting to recede slowly, but you start to see little pockets like that.
Well, luckily, I think with the Skagit River, earlier in the week, they were predicting it might break a record of over 5 feet. Luckily, those numbers kept being revised, and it's not as bad as predicted. And
not
also,
as big of a record.
Yeah, and also those dikes are holding, so that's another piece of good news. And when we talked to the dike commissioner this morning, at least with Mount Vernon, it seemed to be in the clear. So a little bit of relief, although we keep emphasizing that the danger and the fallout from all of this is not over yet. Still a lot happening. Evacuations, as we know, just happening this morning in Burlington. So that's one of the things that we want to tell you about after the Gauges Slough filled up some of the neighborhoods with water on the east and south sides of town. Again, this is still an ongoing dangerous situation.
Yeah, that record set in 1990, unreal. Also a recap of what we've learned on the Snoqualmie River. The Snoqualmie peaked overnight, also at a record level there in the Snoqualmie area. All that water is pushing, of course, toward Everett, down toward the Puget Sound. All of EB Island is under an evacuation order right now. There's a lot of little farms there. We're hoping the best for those families. A lot of roads upriver in the Snoqualmie Valley remain closed. It's a little bit of good news, though. Highway 2 and 203 are back open. You're looking at, of course, up to Skykomish, but Carnation and North Bend also have ways in and out, too, now. The atmospheric river is dealing a blow to our snowpack. We want to really show you two images here that highlight this week. This is at the base of Stevens Pass on Sunday before the atmospheric river. This at about 4,000 feet, and then this. Look what it looks like today. All of that snow essentially gone. You're starting over at Stevens Pass because of all that rain. We'll see how far this sets Stevens Pass back as it tries to finally open for the season.
More than a dozen school districts are closed today because of the weather. And one of the most interesting things is there's some districts who aren't shut down district-wide, but they had to close some schools. Specifically, Lake Washington had to cancel schools at 7 locations because of staff shortages. That includes Alcott, Carson, Ella Baker, and Meade elementary schools, as well as 1 middle school and 2 high schools in the Lake Washington School District. We have all of that information, by the way, running at the bottom of your screen in case you miss it.
King 5 is activating our Northwest response in partnership with the American Red Cross. You can donate right now and help affected families by scanning that QR code on your screen. Your donation goes right to the Red Cross and straight to the families affected by floods. You can also go to king5.com and click on our donation link. Looking at some of the pictures you sent us as well. Our crews can't be everywhere, but we have a lot of you sending in photos and videos to our text line at 206-448-4545. You're really giving us a great idea of the impacts this weather storm has had across the region. That's that shot from Skykomish again. Cannot get enough of that US 2 closure. Wow. Also this morning in Chelan County, the remote village of Stehekin is dealing with catastrophic flooding and a debris flow right through town.
Yeah, some of the pictures are just incredible. Sheriff Mike Morrison tells us that flash floods barreled down the mountainside through the burn scars left behind by last year's wildfire. Savannah Welch is here in the studio with us with an updated information about what is happening in Stehekin. I mean, this poor village has gone through 2 natural disasters.
I know, and the sheriff went out this morning again to assess the damage, and he said it's extensive. These are some of the photos he shared with us. A major slide wiped out sections of the road, many roads, cutting off a lot of different access points, and the main route also to Holden Village. These, again, some of the photos show soil, rocks, and trees. They came barreling down the mountain, wiping out roads and critical infrastructure in Stehekin. This town is only accessible by boat, so the few roads they do have are crucial for getting around. The big problem is that burn scar and those burn scars from from the wildfire last year. It was the Pioneer wildfire. It destroyed all the natural vegetation that can typically hold back heavy rain like this. So now all that flood water flowed right into town, destroying most everything here. About 116 people total live in Stehekin. So as of this morning, when the sheriff went out, he said there were multiple log jams and parts of the surrounding national park land are heavily damaged also. The community's water treatment plant was washed away, leaving residents with no clean water this morning because county commissioners did not approve sending water. The Emergency Management Division stepped in and secured pallets to get those pallets to roughly 116 people. Again, that's the total amount of people that are living in Stehekin. Additional resources are also being offered. The post office is closed. Ferry service is limited, and deputies could only get a patrol car partway in before the road became impassable. The sheriff says he may need to fly in by helicopter as early as tomorrow. Just a really difficult situation. Chelan County Emergency Management is reporting power outages also right now in the town due to the debris flow. It's asking residents to conserve water as crews work to repair critical infrastructure. I mean, the town doesn't have any water right now, clean water. So just a really difficult situation right there right now.
Are you hearing about how long this could take? I know it's early, but this could push into that summer months, the summer months, which are just critical for Stehekin.
Well, the sheriff said he'd be surprised if it reopened next summer. Like, it's not a good situation. It's so extensive. He's not even sure if that's even possible at this point next summer, which is
really
a ways out.
devastates Stehekin, right? Because they depend on tourism and just getting supplies, right? Rich, you were mentioning this before, just getting it to Stehekin is difficult.
Oh, it's a major trip. It's a major undertaking. Jake was talking about you had to load stuff on a barge, and they got to get it, truck it in, and it's it's a remote place.
We'll be up at the lake for the summer, and you'll see a barge going through the lake ever so slowly to get the 30 miles or so up the river, and it's got these huge dump trucks, so it's not like you can just haul things out every day. You've got to completely plan this huge operation. So
we'll appreciate the update on that. Thanks, Savannah. Rich, let's turn it over to you. I mean, luckily things are drying out, which is good. We're probably going to see the driest day all week, right?
Actually, tomorrow will be the driest day, as a matter of fact. Yeah, today we still have a couple of showers around, but tomorrow I think it's going to be partly to maybe even mostly sunny during the day. That'll be a shock to the system. Start looking for the sunglasses now. It's been a while. Look at the Doppler radar. Only a few showers around today, so not putting anything more into the rivers, really. The same is true up in the mountains. We're just seeing a few scattered showers with very light quantities. Shouldn't be any difficulties whatsoever for you. It looks like things will be in pretty good shape. Very, very gray morning around Puget Sound. For a while, it looked like the sun hadn't risen, but we do see just the occasional shower kind of scattered around, and we might get a chance of seeing a couple of sun breaks. We're in first alert weather mode through today, and today it's just because of the widespread river flooding that is continuing at this point, and the elevated landslide risk, which is going to be with us for the next 1 to 2 weeks, or maybe even longer, because we're going to continue to see rain in the lowlands, keeping the soils wet and trying to percolate all this out and through. Take a look at the satellite image. This is the remnants of what gave us all this rain this week. It has kind of reformed up into this area, aimed up there at British Columbia, and it's going to be weakening and dragging through here a little bit on Sunday. If we take a look at that computer model, you can see it shows it where it is today, and then you can see that slide down. This is the precipitable water, which is the amount of water you can squeeze out of the atmosphere, and that's where you can squeeze the most out, is in those atmospheric rivers. So you can see as today and tomorrow we stay dry, but as we head into Sunday, that moves through, but it's going to be very weak. It's just going to give us some off and on showers and sun breaks, but you can see a new atmospheric river reforming, pushing its way up towards us. That one is going to move through here, it looks like, on Monday for another round of heavy rain and some high freezing levels, so another impulse of water going to the rivers on Monday, it looks like. Now, as we get into later Monday, though, that does drop south, but we're still catching the edge of it. We're on the cool side. Initially on Monday, those snow levels are going to be around 6,000 to 7,000 feet, so it'll be rain up and down the river basins. But by later in the day, it's going to drop to about 4,500 feet. And we're going to continue to see systems move through during the week, but they're going to move through without pausing pretty much. And we are going to be looking for overall the snow levels to stay down. We'll drop down to about 2,500 feet on Wednesday. Later in the week, we're not quite sure exactly. It looks like we might just get brushed by another one with some higher snow levels again, so we'll have to continue to monitor that very closely. In terms of those snow levels, you can see over the weekend really high. We're going up to 10,000 foot snow level tomorrow. Then we gradually drop. Monday, we start off with that heavy rain up to 6,000 feet, but then we drop down to about 4,500 feet in the afternoon, and then down to 3,500 feet, finally down to about 2,500 feet with maybe some heaviest of snow at times across the passes those 2 days. We get a little bit of a break on Thursday with just some showers, but then it looks like we're going to be seeing that chance of rain kind of pick back up again as we head towards the end of the week. So we check that out on the 7-day forecast. You can see basically what we're going to be dealing with this weekend: receding rivers, maybe a few showers on Sunday, and then that elevated landslide risk. Heavy rain below 6,000 feet on Monday with the snow levels dropping to 4,500. Rising rivers on Monday. Some river flooding possible again on Tuesday and Wednesday, and the possibility of some heavy mountain snow. So we still have a lot of weather headed our way, as you can see looking at that 7-day. You can also see as we head towards mid to late week, we finally drop back to our normal high temperatures in Puget Sound, which is mostly in the mid to upper 40s. Shantae?
Well, as you would imagine, this weather is impacting the roads as well. WashDOT gave a new update at 9:06 this morning, saying that more than 20 highways are closed across 11 counties. And you can really see the impact from looking at all of these flashing exclamation points here on this map. Now, as far as cross-state highways that are dealing with some closures, they mentioned Highway 12 at Natchez, so milepost 190, and at Chilcote Avenue, which is milepost 115. And then, of course, Highway 2 between Skykomish and Tumwater Canyon. A lot of roads are going to look like this. This is a WashDOT camera out near Highway 9 and Marsh Road. So for those of you heading out through Snohomish, you saw from far there just the conditions. So the southbound lanes are blocked here near Marsh Road, not too far from there. There's also a closure out on Old Snohomish Monroe Road. But you see these purple lines widespread throughout the Snohomish River Valley. Flooding on Old Snohomish Monroe Road has the road closed from Lincoln Avenue to 127th Avenue. Looking at another major closure, basically if you usually use State Route 203 between Falls City and Monroe, there are several closures along that route. The biggest one is between Tote Hill Road and State Route 202, but you can see all of those icons in between those two cities. And if you are heading out in Pierce County, the biggest closure would be between South Prairie and Ording. State Route 162 is blocked from Rainier Avenue to Orville Road. But there's so many closures, of course, we can't get to all of them. There's several also in Auburn, still dealing with that closure out on Green River Road as well. So as you head out this morning, one other thing that WashDOT says is when you see those road closed signs, it means the road is closed. So definitely want to try to help out those first responder crews by not going around any of those barriers, and then of course needing saving yourself.
Thank you, Shantae. Let's take you back live to Burlington right now. You're looking at the flooding that is right near Rio Vista Avenue. This is an area that is seeing floodwaters inundate homes because of the Skagit River. And this morning, the county of Skagit County issued a citywide evacuation order for people in Burlington. You can see, though, from this live picture that this intersection here, at least on one side of it, appears to be dry. Other parts are clearly not.
Yeah, the Red Cross said they sent out a reverse 911, local emergency responders, to alert everyone with a robocall all at once to get out. That's how quickly this was moving this morning. Also understanding that the local fire department there has been overwhelmed, their words, with phone calls and rescue calls there at the Gagey Slough. Interesting, we were looking at this earlier, the tide levels in the Puget Sound do affect the river quite a bit because you are so close to the Salish Sea and to the Swinomish channels in those areas. If you get a high tide event in the Puget Sound, it will back up into the river. That happened at the same time that the river levels hit their record this morning. So you wonder if there was this
that's the
kind
reason
of perfect
why
storm. You know, all that happened. So
there are 2 new shelters, by the way, available, Bayview Elementary and Inspire Church, that just opened last night. So if people have been evacuated and they have no place to go, that is one place that they can go. Right now, we want to turn our attention also in Skagit County to Mount Vernon. This is another area we've been focused on. So what you're looking at is a live city camera from the city of Mount Vernon showing the flood wall in downtown. So on the left side is the Skagit River. The flood wall's right in the middle. And on the right side, you can see that some of the water from the river has seeped into the downtown area on the other side. Looks like there's some picnic tables or whatnot that are on the other side of that wall. I saw people there yesterday, standing on top of those tables, trying to get a glimpse of what's happening on the flood wall. Yeah, looking at the rising water. Again, it looks like the flood wall is doing its job since it was put in place in 2019. This is what it's supposed to do. But this is just an idea of what is happening with the Skagit River in Mount Vernon, which hit a record earlier today.
People wanted to see history there. Should note too, they're in the Burlington area that's just coming down, reading from the emergency alert, that an evacuation point is set up at Bayview Elementary, which is on Josh Wilson Road. If you or your family or friends need a place to go, or you're trying to locate someone that you can't get in touch with, Bayview Elementary. All right, now to King County. The Snoqualmie River is receding this morning. Officials say, though, the danger is not over. Many roads still remain closed because of high water. That includes parts of 203. Some were cut off in Falls City, Carnation, and Duval. Yesterday, the river in Falls City rose above 60 feet. It hasn't been that high since 2008. Drivers trying to get through this mess had been turned around. One local beekeeper fears his bee colonies are gone.
I don't have the word to say. It's insane, which is what I've been saying the past 3 days. It's just so much water. It's just phenomenal.
People in Falls City heard this dramatic aerial rescue on Wednesday night. Just a heroic act here. 2 drivers that were caught in swift waters had to be pulled to safety. A man and his dog were trapped in their home, also as well nearby, and some folks were stuck in their cars, which were trapped in those high waters. But what a moment there. Wow.
And now to Whatcom County. The Nooksack and Sumas rivers flooded several small towns, including Sumas, where the entire downtown was underwater. The city is almost entirely cut off, with the road closed up to the border. Flooding has even closed the Trans-Canada Highway in Abbotsford. And in Linden, neighbors pitched in to help fill sandbags to protect homes from the rising Nooksack River.
It just sucks. It's sad to see that people's homes are filled with water and potentially have to move out and start again.
In the Cedarville area, the Nooksack hit a record yesterday, a foot higher than the devastating floods in 2021.
4 people had to be rescued from the roof of this home yesterday in Sumas. A rescue swimmer deployed from a Coast Guard helicopter helped pull 2 people through a window of a second-story attic of this home here. About 8 feet of water rushed in and surrounded this home. It is always incredible to see this video. Can you imagine sitting in that basket? Thankfully, our Coast Guard members are trained for exactly this. A second crew also was needed to get them to safety. Thankfully, no one was injured.
And that was just one of many rescues across western Washington yesterday. A King County Sheriff's deputy used a drone to drop a life jacket to a man trapped on the roof of his SUV right near the Snoqualmie River. A helicopter eventually came and lifted him to safety. In Snohomish County, 16 people, including 8 children, are safe thanks to fire crews in Snohomish. They even managed to rescue the family's pets. And in the town of Hamilton in Skagit County, first responders rescued a woman when floodwaters surrounded her home.
How you doing?
I've been scared. I live here all alone.
Okay.
And it's my first time doing this.
Wow, upriver in concrete. The Skagit River crested at 41 feet yesterday. That's just below the record there of 42 feet. You might as well call it a record. Some families who have weathered floods here before say they've never seen it this bad. We also heard from one man nearby in the small town of Hamilton trying to check on his home blocked by flooded roads.
Though we're human and we have emotions and I want to cry, but you know, my house is underwater and I don't know what's left. It's a lot of money that we spent, and not only that, but a lot of time, and you know, I'm glad that me and my family are safe.
Yeah, you can replace your belongings. You can't replace your family. Skagit County, by the way, has shelters open, including one at Concrete High School. Also, all of this rain has had us thinking about those iconic tulip fields in Skagit Valley. This is what it looks like at full bloom, of course, in the springtime around Mother's Day. We reached out to Tulip Town there. We learned that they are in what they're calling a wait-and-see mode. Those tulip bulbs do not like to be sitting in saturated soil. Farm manager Steve Johnson says they've all moved their equipment to higher ground. They're watching the conditions closely. He says there's little that they can do at this moment, but no major damage to report.
On the other side of the mountains, take a look at this video from Kittitas County. A landslide in Cleellen destroyed the first floor of this home. Part of a hillside up above gave way, sending a wave of mud and rocks into the home and into the garage. The sheriff's office says luckily it's a mess, but no one was hurt. And it was a long night for families in a large apartment complex in Puyallup who had to evacuate because of the rising waters late yesterday. A level 3 go now order was given for the crossroads at Meridian near Meridian Avenue Bridge when the Puyallup River crested for the 3rd time in 3 days. People were told to load up what they could as floodwaters spilled into parking lots and in the first floor. Neighbors came to their rescue.
He raced here and started helping me get everything up to higher ground from the garage because we knew that's where it would hit first.
I've told everybody I've met, like, if you need help, I've been working really late, but I'll go to Home Depot, I'll get you sandbags.
This morning, all evacuation orders have been lifted in Puyallup, according to the Pierce County Emergency Management. The Puyallup River is forecast to continue to recede. A Thurston County family who became stranded in floodwaters Tuesday night is grateful for a stranger who stepped in to help. Erica Wolin says she was taking her sister's kids to see the holiday laser light show at the old Satsupp power plant, and that's when trouble hit.
Yeah, it didn't go according to plan. She says she didn't see the road closed signs and thought she could get through some of those flooded roads, unaware that the signs themselves had washed away. Wolin says she was behind a truck following that vehicle when her car started to take on water and then the engine died. When they opened the doors, frigid water rushed in. All they could do was try to get away with chest-deep water.
Giovanni's carrying Liliana. Me and Gabriel are walking towards a truck that I don't know who's in there. I'm just hoping that it's a good person, and thankfully it was an amazing person. And he just opened his doors, let us in, didn't even ask us any questions, and just started taking us back to where, to where there was dry land.
Yeah, while they are still shaken, the family did not have any injuries or hypothermia, and Erica says she still got them to the laser light show.
That was some good news, I guess.
One story to tell, though.
Let's get back to Drew Andre, who's in Burlington right now, tracking this citywide evacuation order as more floodwaters cause problems there. Drew?
Mimi, I'm right at the intersection of East Rio Vista and Skagit Street. You can see where I'm standing, at least, isn't flooded, but then on the other side of the street, that's where those homes are underwater. Behind this layer of homes is where the Gages Slough is, which is now flooded out. So this is one of the sections of Burlington here that has been flooded so far. Nearby, Anacortes Street is another one that we've been keeping an eye on. And essentially a lot of the homes that are along the slough have been impacted by this flooding. But right now, the entire city is under this mandatory evacuation order. You see a lot of cars that are driving around. We've been watching a lot of people leave the area. Of course, not everyone. The National Guard has been assisting by doing door knocking around homes that are affected in areas around Burlington. Let's show you some video earlier here too. We saw one of the emergency crews driving through some of this water, which, I mean, it's several feet up. And some of these homes, it looks almost to be about halfway up the garage door. Very extreme here. And we spoke to some people that live at one of those homes that are impacted.
Yeah, right now my house, my garage, my man cave, everything's in there. It's just total waste right now.
All right, and right now you are taking a look at the Skagit River. This is in Mount Vernon, though, from earlier this morning. You can see how high those levels were there. This is even after the river had crested, that you still saw it coming up towards the flood wall. But there in Mount Vernon, the flood wall did its job. Just some minor seeping through there, but no impact to downtown Mount Vernon and that surrounding area. As we come back out here live to Burlington, a bit of a different story for people that live along the slough right here that are impacted. So this is something, again, we'll be keeping an eye on all day. Jake and Mimi?
Yeah, Drew, the county issued this emergency evacuation about 3 hours ago, and then you immediately went from Mount Vernon to Burlington, which of course is not that far away. What have you seen change since the time that you got there and now?
So not as much as you may think. Now, people immediately, I would say, I saw more cars that were leaving the area. So you can tell around me there are still people that are driving around, some people that are wanting to check out to see what is going on if they're not in the impacted area. But for some context here, where I'm standing, where the level that the water is, has not really changed since we got here about 3 hours ago now is the time. So not a significant difference from there, which is a positive sign. But I've been talking to dike commissioners around this area, and they say that we're not totally out of this yet. It's very important that we keep an eye on it, because even though the river levels are receding, it's not quite to the point where they feel confident that this won't get any worse.
I looked up where Drew is on a map. There's a lot of homes that are surrounding the slough.
The same thing.
Yeah,
it's incredible, actually, how much that water quickly rushed up like that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Drew.
It weaves all throughout this whole area, you guys.
Yeah, it's amazing. All should note that emergency managers have set up an evacuation point at Bayview Elementary, which is on Josh Wilson Road. So if you need to reunite with someone you're looking for, check Bayview Elementary this morning.
Thank you very much, Drew.
Thanks,
we
Drew.
appreciate your live look there. Here's a look again at the school closures. This morning, there's more than a dozen school districts that are closed because of the floodwaters. There's also a number of districts that are also delayed as well. We are running the updates here at the bottom of your screen.
Also, King 5 has activated our Northwest response in partnership with the American Red Cross. You can donate by scanning the QR code on your screen. All of the money goes directly to the Red Cross, which is funneled straight to the families affected by these floods. You can also get this on king5.com. Just find our donation link. And you have been sending us a lot of great photos across the region, from the Canadian border to Lewis County to Mason County, with all of the impacts, Snoqualmie included. We've seen Snoqualmie Falls a few times. Just incredible, the amount of water coming off of that falls right now. Tell us the story about what's happening in your neighborhood by texting us here at King 5 at 206-448-4545. We want to get your stuff on air too.
All right, Rich is here now with a look at the forecast. Luckily, it looks like this hose is being turned off.
It's taking a break.
Gonna get a chance to dry out.
Yeah, I may not be totally done with this, but it's taking a break, which is really important. I thought you might like to take a look at whatever today is I've lost track, the 12th?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Is it the 12th or is it the 11th? No, it's the 12th.
It's the 12th.
I'm confused.
Did I miss Christmas? Did it come by? I'm not really sure at this point.
This week it seemed like the longest ever.
Seriously.
Yeah.
No, looking at how we're doing for the month so far in terms of rainfall, no surprise, we're well above normal, 2 to 3 inches above normal around parts of Puget Sound and Olympia, pushing 4.5 inches above normal. Now, the interesting thing is, that all said, we're still a half foot behind since the 1st of January. So that shows you how dry our spring and summer were, that after all this rain, we're still a half a foot behind in our normal annual rainfall. So kind of crazy, really. Weather-wise, it isn't crazy. It's actually really good news. Just a few scattered showers around today, and we're going to maybe see even a couple of sun breaks. Though this morning has been very gray and very cloudy, and we've seen a little bit of light fog out there. But Port Angela is starting to brighten up a little bit, so that kind of gives you a little bit of hope that we might lift those clouds just a little bit. Still looking pretty cloudy there at Everett's Painfield. We're seeing basically just a little mist in a few places and a couple of showers, but in terms of quantities, nothing that's going to affect the flooding at all, which is good. I mean, we'll get a chance to run off. Overall, today, a first alert weather day because of the widespread river flooding that is continues to be a huge problem out there, and the elevated landslide risk, which will continue probably for the next at least 1 to 2 weeks, if not beyond, as we're going to continue to see rain in the lowlands, though fortunately we should start to see snow up in the mountains. Checking the satellite image, so this is the remnants of that atmospheric river that we've been dealing with, the Pineapple Express, and you can see it's weakened a lot, and now it's kind of pointed up there towards British Columbia, where it's going to sit for a couple of days and gradually weaken before the remnants of that is going to move through. But if we check the computer models, you can see we do have that kind of dragging through here as we head towards Sunday. Not expecting a whole lot out of it by then, just some scattered showers, probably less than a half an inch of rain out of that as it moves on through. But a new atmospheric river forms. You can see up to the north of us and drags through here as we head towards Monday. That is going to be giving us some heavy rainfall with high snow levels on Monday, but the snow levels begin to fall later on Monday, and we should drop down to about 2,500 foot snow levels midweek, which means basically we're going to be looking at snow in the mountains and just rain in the lowlands. So it shouldn't, that won't cause any flooding problems, but that pulse initially on Monday may drive a few rivers back up above flood stage, it looks like. And as we head towards later in the week, there's that atmospheric river might come back up our way towards the end of the week, but at this point, we're not sure of that, so we're going to continue to monitor that closely. Short term, in terms of our snow levels, look at the snow level tomorrow all the way up to 10,000 feet. That's amazingly warm air for this time of the year. It does drop, and you see Monday when we're getting that heavy rain, still around 6,000 to 7,000 foot snow levels, but again, they drop to about 4,500 feet by the end of the day, 3,500 feet on Tuesday, and maybe some heavy snow at times, so we may start to build a snowpack in some of the ski areas. In fact, as we head towards Wednesday, it should be all the way down to the Snoqualmie Pass areas, so we might have a little bit more optimism about trying to get those areas open by Christmas time, though it does start to creep back up again as we head towards later in the week. Taking a look at the forecast for the next few days. So the weekend, basically just those few showers Sunday is all we're dealing with. Heavy rain below 6,000 feet on Monday. Looks like those snow levels drop to 4,500 later in the day. Rivers will begin to rise on Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday, basically looking at heavy mountain snow, but we will see some of the rivers get back into above flood stage, but just a few of them, and they hopefully won't be going that far into flood stage, it looks like. And then as we head towards the end of the week, we're going to have to watch that and see what that atmospheric river does down to the south of us. And here around the lowlands, just a few showers today, partly sunny tomorrow, showers on Sunday, and then wet in the lowlands Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then showers and sun breaks, and cooler as we head towards the middle part of the week.
As you prepare to head out this morning, it is a first alert traffic day as well, and this will likely be the case for the next few days when you think about just the flooding and the waters receding. Every exclamation point you see here represents some type of road closure. The last update from WashDOT came around 9 this morning saying that more than 20 highways were closed, but keep in mind that would be state highways, and that's across 11 counties. And you also can see some of the major ones across state highways. They mentioned Highway 12 at Natchez, so milepost 190, and at Chilcote Avenue, so milepost 115. So something to think about if you were planning to use Highway 12. Also, a good portion of Highway 2 is closed between Skykomish and Tumwater Canyon. That is because of slides and trees down, which could be the case for the next few days with that wet soil. This is a lookout on Highway 9. This truck, which looks like a fire truck, has been here at this closure point of Marsh Road for the past 20 minutes. So the southbound lanes are still blocked near Marsh Road. You're also still dealing with several closures out throughout that Snohomish River Valley area. So you have Old Snohomish Monroe Road, which is closed between Lincoln Avenue and 127th Avenue. And then you see there is like 7 other closures not too far from there. If you're planning to travel out on State Route 203, we've told you about the cities of Carnation and Duval kind of becoming islands. You're dealing with several closures upon State Route 203. The biggest one is between Todt Hill Road and State Route 202. There's also one in Monroe as well. And then if you're heading out in Pierce County, State Route 162 still blocked between South Prairie and Ording. So that was just a quick wrap of some of the bigger closures, but we are dealing with a lot when you think about how many icons are on that map.
All right, Shantae, thanks. We're watching several things right now. Burlington is one of them. Of course, Skykomish finally getting US 2 back open to that small town. Looking live in Burlington, where those evacuation orders are still in place.
Thanks for joining us for the special coverage of the significant and historic flooding. We've got more news coming up at noon today.